You're listening to China Manufacturing Decoded from the Sophie's Group. Hello, welcome back to the podcast, episode 318 today. Adrian hosting and Renaud joins me today. Hi, Renaud.
Hey, hi, Adrian. How are you doing?
I'm good. We're going to cover the Iran conflict, right, which is going to have an impact on manufacturing. Right now, it's hard to say exactly what the impacts are going to be, but we're going to share some of the sources and some of the possible impacts that you might expect when you're manufacturing in China. I'll also add that Kate, who is our supply chain management head, is going to join me a little bit later in the podcast, and she's going to talk about shipping and how shipping logistics and the costs of that could also be impacted. So to get started, Renaud, the conflict in the Middle East, I mean, we don't need to give the big story behind that, but a little bit of context, please.
Well, I think everybody's talking about a war now, right? I think the big W word is out. US and Israel keep bombing Iran. Iran has basically blocked the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran has been bombing utility infrastructure, especially it has a huge impact already on gas prices because they hit what's the name of that? Qatar. The huge infrastructure in Qatar, which is the number one provider of gas. That's going to have a huge impact on gas prices in Europe. So it goes back to what happened in toward the start of the war in Ukraine. Basically, energy is going to cost a lot more just because of the very complex systems with the EU and the way it links it to the price of electricity and so on. I mean, some countries were hit pretty bad. So that's one aspect of it. In Europe, there's definitely going to be an impact again on energy price and growth, very probably. Okay. The second one is in China. Well, China was buying a lot of oil from Iran at a relatively low cost, right? So, and it's still the biggest oil importer from what the journalists write anyway. So, of course, the cost of energy is going to go up in China. Now, it's going to hit in several ways, right? One is there's a lot of products made in China or parts made in China that are made with derivatives of oil, right? Plastic products primarily. So some of them are going to see their price go up, right? The material, the polymer that the factories in China buy are going to be more expensive, right? Some of them are going to be highly sensitive, like ABS, PC, are probably some of the most common types of thermoplastics. It's benzene and propylene-derived plastics, right? So price of oil is going to go up as China is going to procure oil from other countries, much closer to the international price. So all of that is gonna go up for sure. Or very often they buy it actually already in plastic pellets coming from places like Saudi Arabia. Well, there also price is going to go up because the international cost of oil is going to go up and so on, right? PPPA, I mean, a lot of thermoplastics, same thing with thermoset plastics, same thing with silicon, et cetera, right? So be ready to pay more for plastic products in general and other derivatives of oil in general, right? And that's probably the biggest impact when it comes to the products you buy or the parts you buy that are made in China, right?
Yeah, I heard analysts in the media saying that, if the Strait of Hormuz is closed for maybe just a couple of weeks, it won't really change a lot. But if we start going to a month or longer, the impact on the world economy could be quite high. It's not only China, but I mean, China's definitely fairly affected by this because they're quite a big oil customer of Iran specifically, right? But I mean, you've mentioned plastics, we got petrochemicals, aluminum, electronic components, all of these industries could potentially be affected. Even farming as well, fertilizers, a lot of fertilizers come through there. I know that's not specifically related to China manufacturing, but you mentioned earlier the effect on regions like Europe.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not getting your fertilizers or the cost of fertilizers are going up, then what's that going to do to the cost of food in the supermarkets?
Right. Yeah, it's kind of sad because Europe is sort of the collateral victim of all these things, right?
Yeah.
When the price of gas goes up and when they have to cut their purchases from Russia and when the US suddenly decides to bomb Iran and so on and so forth, well, they kind of always suffer. That's just the way things are structured, I'm afraid. Yeah.
So, yeah, really, we've got more uncertainty. There's been uncertainty for many years now. I think with the invasion of Ukraine, that started off spikes in energy costs and things like that. And then we had, if you remember, the 2023-24 Red Sea, the Houthi rebels were attacking ships, which I believe they've started now as well, because they're kind of allies of Iran, aren't they?
Certainly, yeah.
So that's got an impact on shipping. So we've covered manufacturing costs. Obviously, at the moment, you can't give specific figures, but oil prices, I think, have gone up by about 8% already. So, how's that going to affect things in China? So, yeah, be careful. Prices from your Chinese manufacturer could start to rise. And I think that's the warning here, just to be a little bit conscious of that. So that's kind of the context of it and potentially what you could look out for. And in the second part of this podcast, we'll bring Kate in and talk more about shipping and logistics. Thanks, Renaud.
All right, great.
So for the second part of the podcast, I'm bringing in Kate, who's our supply chain management leader, because we are going to talk about the Iran conflict's impact on shipping and logistics. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Adrian. Hi, everyone. Happy to be back. Also, not too happy for the occasion. And yes, it's the hottest topic of the recent week for sure. Is conflict in Iran and disruption in the Strait of Hormuz that impacts global supply chain. Again, just once we are back after Chinese New Year and flights were supposed to go back to normal, we have a new conflict that already resulted in about 150 ships being anchored due to instability. So they're waiting for better timing to proceed, which of course is causing delays and flights going up and other disruptions that I guess we will talk about today.
Yeah, it's not looking good. I mean, we're not going to be perhaps at COVID levels of costs, if you remember those days when it was like $20,000 for a container, but nonetheless, costs are potentially going to be an issue here.
Yes, so we have different levels of impact here, and the first one that comes into your mind when you think is of course insurance. This is the fastest impact that happens, and of course already it surged at least 5 times in the past 2 days.
Wow.
So yeah, that's the first one, because now it's considered war zone. So obviously the insurance premium goes far up. It's been like, if to give you some numbers, it was like 0.1 to 5% of vessel value before, and now it went to 0.2 or even 0.4% per transit. So if you're talking about like a large tanker, that would be $250,000 easily plus per voyage, which is of course, it's a huge number that will of course be deployed to your shipments, importers, and the end pricing at the end. So some insurers would put this extra surcharge. Others would actually consider it as a war. So they will cancel the insurance at all in case your shipment gets damaged or whatever. that is a war. So I don't know whatever is better. But if we are talking about added surcharges for containers, as of now, and it's been just a start, and this might change. We might have another podcast in a week, and the situation might skyrocket from here. Hopefully not to COVID levels, but still. So as of now, we have a so-called war risk surcharge per container, which is, if you are talking about 20 FCL containers, it would be $1,500. And for 40 FCL, it would be respectively $3,000. And if you're talking about refrigerator containers, that would be about $4,000. So that's already almost like for 40, and refrigerated, that's almost double cost, more or less, of a normal cost. So that's expensive. So like your 40 foot container could suddenly cost plus 3K extra just because of this conflict. And some marine insurers are canceling the war risk coverage for vessels, as I said. So usually when this kind of situation happens, it's either you're paying much or you lose the insurance. So of course, that translates into higher freight costs that our importers should anticipate right now. And this is where it will go. For now, it hit, like supertankers cost have hit all the time highs. You remember there was a Red Sea crisis in 2024?
I do. I think it was around then, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So then we had like a freight rates rose about 130% for the Red Sea disruptions. So I think this is somewhere we are going here as well. Hopefully I'm wrong, but it also depends on how long it will last. So that will impact the pricing. But of course, this shows how quickly geopolitics can change the shipping cost, as it impacts fuel surcharges, it impacts war risk surcharges we've talked about, also capacity. So if ships are docked, they cannot continue, so this causes a delay. Then these ships cannot come back. Then you have less routes available and you have less ships available. So then it creates scarcity, which of course impacts the freight costs going up.
Yeah, I was going to mention about time. You've mentioned delays because we've spoken more about costs so far. But I mean, ships are sailing. Some of them are docked. Some of them are waiting, which is, of course, going to create bottlenecks for scarcity. But some of them are sailing, but they're already going to be delayed now as well.
Yes, so there are hundreds of ships already waiting. So for sure, your timeline will be less predictable. For sure, some of them are rerouting around the risk areas, which will take longer time. Some transit times will be increased, and of course, you have less ships. So, this is something again as we can compare with Red Sea crisis or with Ukrainian war crisis. So this result is more or less the same. And many ships, are docked. They're waiting for some potential release. If that will last longer, I guess it will also be rerouted. So this depends on the shipping line, how they solve this issue. But right now, pricing is going up.
And specific to if we're importing from China, I mean, China isn't in the war zone, of course, but still it could be affected.
Yeah, so there are some indirect impacts for Pacific route. If we are talking about our US importers, it's fuel surcharges, it's war risk surcharges. You can still have scheduled disruptions, of course, and ships scarcity and less sailings on a weekly basis, and possible congestion at ports as well, and transit ports especially because they're docked somewhere. So definitely you need to expect delays no matter what. Of course, mostly Strait of Hormuz crisis impacts import and export from Iran, Kuwait, Yemen, Qatar, Oman, United Arab Emirates, so basically Middle East area, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and so and so. However, also we have a Houthi resuming their attacks in the Red Sea. So ships that are, which is also related to this crisis.
Yeah.
All right. So this causes some ships that are bound for Europe, for our European listeners, to reroute. Again, via Cape of Good Hope. We've heard about that before during the Red Sea crisis.
So that's like about, an extra couple of weeks, is it?
Yes. So it significantly extends the maritime transit to Europe. But no matter, even if your sailing route, for example, to US is not going through Strait of Hormuz, you will still be impacted with the timelines at transits, at arrivals, at ports, at ship schedules. It will have an impact in timeline. It will have an impact in costs. If you're shipping to Europe, you will have an even greater delay timeline because most of ships are rerouting now because it's like away from China to Europe right now.
Great. More good news for the European listeners. But yeah, you're right. Like if you're shipping to the west coast of America, you might be thinking, well, hang on, why is this affecting me? But if we look at the fuel costs alone, as fuel costs go up, as they already are, right, that's affecting the shipping lines as well. Their fuel increases the oil that they use. So if nothing more, they're going to pass that on to you for sure. So yeah, you're not wrong. Thanks, Kate. I think we need to keep an eye on this. It's, of course, a developing situation right now at the start of March. So who knows? We might need to do another one in the coming weeks and to kind of update.
Hopefully not.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Let's hope for that. So yeah, purpose of this one is to get our importers ready for potential violations in delivery times and also freight rates is something that you should definitely plan. Extra $3,000-$4,000 easily per container, I need to say, as of now. So basically more or less double cost of the regular rate. And this is, I think, the top worry right now. And if you have an opportunity to wait and ship a bit later, this is what I would do. But you never know if it lasts for a long time.
Yeah.
We can have any situation development. So we will make sure to keep an eye. And if there are more tangible updates on the situation, we will be back here.
Yep, that's it. Great. Thanks so much, Kate. And to all the listeners, let us know if you've got any questions on this. We will, of course, try to help. And I'll link to some news sources in the show notes so you can go check that out as well.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks again for listening to this podcast brought to you by the Sophie's Group. We're on a mission to provide you with everything you need to manufacture effectively in Asia, including inspections, auditing, new product development support, contract manufacturing, 3PL warehousing and fulfillment, and much, much more across Asia's key manufacturing areas. Visit us at sofeast.com, that's SOFEAST.com, to learn more and get help. If you've enjoyed the podcast today, please do rate, review, and share because it will really help others discover us too.